Hello, dear YouTubers. I'm Vaishnavi, and today we are going to start with a new and exciting chapter of geography. And geography, in that, we are going to start and schedule a chapter which is our environment, which is chapter number 11, and it is on page number 98. And today we are going to understand the more types of physical features of this one environment chapter and what are abiotic nutrients and many types of biotic environment we will study. The types of environment we will also study. So let's see the big idea of this chapter. The big idea of this chapter that I'm going to tell you is the natural environment, which is containing the abiotic and biotic. Then we are going to discuss the interaction between the components of the environment. Then we are also going to discuss the human environment, that how are humans behaving with the environment right now also and with the past times also. So let's take a glance look over this chapter. The glance look of this chapter is the natural environment may be divided into physical elements and the abiotic environment and biological elements or the biotic environment. And so they both have different types of definitions that we are going to learn, and we will also discuss what and which is ecosystem and where it is, like in our surroundings, what is ecosystem. So let's get started with the chapter. The first moral of this chapter is that what is environment. The word environment is actually derived from the French word which means environ. Environ is the word from which is a French word and which also means to surround with something. To surround with something. So our environment is actually surrounding something, like surrounding us actually, and it surrounds us, and we surround the environment. And so environment is from a French word which is environ. Therefore, environment refers to the surroundings within which an organism exists in its nature and in its world. Also, these surroundings can be it may refer to a condition that where are the things and where are not the things, that actually are dependent on the habitat of the place also. Like for example, a cactus cannot live in the rainforest areas, and a very rainforest, like you can say the apple tree cannot live in the desert area because it is found in the mountainous region. That's why there is habitat of every, like every region, every animal, it has a habitat. And also adaptation is something that is found over in that animals only, and hibernation, everything is like animals. And animals, the human are also considered in animals, just we are a little bit like developed from the animals. Now, hence the components of the environment comprise with each other, and so the comprised in like environment components are the natural environment and the human made environment, which is artificial environment. So the natural environment comprises the living and non-living things that occur naturally on earth, and the artificial environment consists of the things that are made by humans, or or they are between houses or something. And the examples of this are actually parks, dams, houses, and like towers, pencil, a pen, and everything is human made. So this is the artificial environment. And the natural environment examples could be grass and some like of trees and air, water, and these types of abiotic nutrients that are non-living things. These all are the natural environment. They consist of natural environment. Now first, if in detail we will understand that what is natural environment. So the natural environment is also divided into two parts, which is the physical environment or the abiotic environment, and the biological environment, which is the biotic environment. So there is a both very much difference, just a in the abiotic and biotic without a, but they have a very different type of like difference between each other. So let's understand it briefly. So first understand that what is the abiotic like environment. This comprises of inorganic and non-living things in the environment, such as water, air, mud, and like lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere. It comprises these much categories, and also it is basis on the physical state of the characteristics, and it is divided into lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. They consist of many things that we will learn further. Let's come to the biotic environment, which actually comprises all forms of the life, including the plants and animals, and also including the three spheres which we learned: lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Also, the it comprises the whole part of the spheres, which is also called the biosphere. The biosphere actually is including the biotic types of biotic and abiotic environment, and the biosphere extends over from the bottom of the ocean from about 11,000 meter below the sea level, and to the top of the highest mountains, which is about 9,000 meter above sea level. And so the biosphere extends a lot from the lower to the bigger. So we live in that biosphere actually. Now, what are the interdependence of the organism? So, interdependence is actually of organisms within biosphere only, and it contains all living organisms, including the humans, and they are actually divided into many categories that like producers, consumers, decomposers, and also these all are actually called interdependent. So some are dependent on some plants, some are dependent on carnivores, some are dependent on like herbs and like shrubs. They are actually consisting of the interdependent. They are interdependent. And then, as we know that what are producers and how they are called, so let us discuss these points also, that what are producers and how they are called autotrophs, and what is autotroph also. The producers or the autotrophs, which means the self producer, is like the green plants, and that plant or that organism that can prepare its own food. Not only plants, some are like dried leaves also, like not dried leaves but non-green plants also sometimes prepare their food and take their fruit from the other. So they are not the producers, but they are some other types of plants. But we do not consider them in green plants. Some green plants actually are producers and are called the autotrophs. Like they prepare their own food with the raw materials of the nature. So what are the raw materials of the nature? That we drink, that we breathe, that we actually inhale and exhale, and everything around in the environment is actually the raw material, but not the artificial environment that we humans have. So the raw material of the plants with which they make their food is actually water, air. In air, it comprises carbon dioxide, and in the air only, with the sun, in the presence of sun and in the presence of sunlight, it makes its food. Now we have learned that what is the made of producers and what are the autotrophs. Now let's come to the what are consumers and what are heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are also called as consumers, and these are the plants which are already dependent on the already dependent on the producers for their living nature, and they are actually independent or actually dependent on the producers only. Almost all the other living organisms, like living beings, animals, are actually indirectly or directly dependent on the foods for plants. Like some are like herbivorous plants. So, herbivorous animals. So they feed directly on plants. We can say carnivorous plants. Carnivorous animals actually feed on the herbivorous, and then when the herbivorous eats the, we can say, the grass, so that all is considering in a food chain. And food chain, after it we will also discuss the decomposers, then I will talk in brief about it. So first let's talk about what are consumers and heterotrophs. Herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous are the three kinds of consumers. So we have learned that what are consumers and heterotrophs. Now let's come to the last point, which is the decomposers. So what are decomposers? Decomposers, with the name we are understanding they are composers that decomposers, and so these are organisms such as bacteria, fungi, and other types of bacteria that help to break down their food to take their nutrition, and they depend on the dead animals and decaying matter, and actually they lead to break down their dead animals and plants so that they can take their energy from the living thing, and in the another form it actually gives several types of food chains is actually attaching to these like plants when they eat it. So let's discuss the energy is transferred from one living thing to another living thing of various types of food chains, and many different food chains link up from a food that actually called as food webs. So what are food webs? Food webs are something that all the food webs are delicately balanced. So this we have learned that all the food webs are delicately balanced. Now what are food webs? Food webs are actually different types of food chains that link up to form a food web. So for example, we have sun. If sun would not be there, grass would not grow, and if sun would not be there, the grass would not grow. The grass would not be there, the rabbit would not be able to eat the grass, and if rabbit could not eat the grass, so the owl like which eats the owl which eats rabbit cannot take the rabbit because it is died now, because there was no grass for the rabbit, there was no sun for the rabbit. And so when the owl will die, so the decomposers will be left with nothing. So all this food chain is linking that if only sun would not be there, so anything would not be there. So sun is the ultimate source of light, and sun is actually very helpful for us. If it would not be there, we would not get the like the most amount of vitamin D, the plants would not grow, so the oxygen would not be there. There are many reasons that why what would happen that sun would not be there. If I would get chance, so I will tell that what would happen if sun would not be there in the other video. Let's discuss on this topic now. So if one link, for example, if one link of the food web is destroyed, for example, the rabbit is taken out from the food web, so what will happen? The grass and the owl doesn't match with each other, and so grass will also die because there would be nothing so that it could eat itself, and so the owl could not eat the grass, and if rabbit would be outside there, so there would be a like chaos in the food chain, and the all other organisms will be affected that are dependent on that food chain. And now we have discussed that what is a food chain and what is like decomposers, consumers, heterotrophs, and autotrophs, and the you can say the producers. Now we are coming to the ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is something which is a natural unit that consists of non-living organisms. And non-living, by this I mean that non-living such as land, water, air and the living elements of the living elements such as plants and animals that live on the surface of the earth. Now it is definite system formed by the interaction of all living organisms, which are the biotic components of the environment, and the biotic components that consist are interdependent on each other and interlinked with each other, and the physical environment that is actually called the abiotic environment in which they reside. They reside, for instance, of forests, grasslands, and deserts also. So they are not interdependent on each other. Now, the biosphere is referred to as the global ecosystem. Now, global ecosystem, why? Because within the biosphere, there are each types of natural habitats such as forest, desert, pond, or within its community, it also has the living things inside it such as animals, plants, etc. And these are actually the regional ecosystem. Global ecosystem is known as the biosphere. Why biosphere? Because biosphere consists of all the things. All the things I mean by biotic also and abiotic also. But the regional ecosystem only consists of the habitat. The habitat means the natural habitat like the desert areas, grasslands, forests, etc. And also also they consist the animals and plants that live in that habitat. So that is known as the regional ecosystem. That is not the global ecosystem. Now, what is the constant reaction and interaction between the non-living and living organisms that changes the dynamic character of the environment? So, to understand this, any change in the abiotic environment is actually affecting the biotic environment, especially in the terms of the numbers of the kinds of species that are around us. For example, if water would not be there, we would not live on the earth, and that is why the if abiotic nutrients would not be there, biotic would affect it, and that is why the link of them is very mandatory in the life processes. The living things in turn modify their physical environment to suit them with the abiotic nutrients. And now we are going to study that what is the human environment. The human environment encompasses human beings and their activities. So the environment, which consists of the source and all sources required by the human beings in order to prosper and survive. The human beings are only and only the living beings on the earth who have used the transformed form from the animals to be like the walking on feet, and we are not walking on now on the 4 feet, and we are walking on the 2 feet only. So that's why they are transformed to fulfill our needs. And then early humans lived in the harmony with nature that we know. But over the years and years, then the advancement in science, in like physics, and then it came to the technology. Then rapid like industrialization actually occurred in our countries, and the spread of agriculture also was there. Like when the early humans were there, they depended on animals with their days only, but when they started making the agriculture, they started making the plants, so they were dependent on plants also. Some were dependent on animals also, so that's why they recovered themselves and transformed them to the plants process also. And they also learned the agriculture and the rise in urbanization also. And what is urbanization? Actually, urbanization is the process by which the towns or cities grow bigger and more people come in that city or town. So they gave rise to urbanization when more people and came to that country, came to that place, and some rural areas were left with the no people. And actually, in that area where the overpopulation was happening, and it disrupted the harmony of that area also. Now, the human activities such as clearing the forest land, lumbering, mining became the unsustainable. Unsustainable means the not capable to do or not capable of continuing at the same rate of the like the same rate of the level. That is why it was unsustainable, and with the passage of time, thus accelerating the process of the environmental degradation. So environment actually stopped processing so that humans could understand that what is my role in my surrounding. As we know that corona is there in our environment now, we all call the corona environment is going on now. So what is nature giving us is that the nature is giving us pain now. So nature is giving us pain because we did nature in pain also. So if we will give it pain, it will also give it pain. So we have to be like friendful to the nature also, not cutting by trees, not cutting any of the plants. Grow every plant. Even if you are helpful to the nature, grow the plant, and then it will be helpful to you also. It will give you fresh air so that it would not be a health issue. It would not be oxygen, like oxygen rate will not go down of yours. And if you will be fine with the nature, nature will be fine with you. And that is why the nature is giving us like the potential to do these things, that we have to do it now. So plant 10 trees like in your home you have lots of pots, you have lots of, like you can say, plastic boxes that are not used of you, and they are actually going to the dustbin. So you can take it out, not from the dustbin if you have thrown now. So when the plastic comes at your home, if it is a box or if it is a like plastic roll, so you can put some soil into it if you have at your home, and then what you can do is plant some seeds of the some pulses and some grains. You can like actually sow them in your ground so that it would be a green like garden in your house only, and they will give you oxygen also. By the rather way, you cannot be dependent on other oxygen like on the cylinders. If you have like the most critical like critical condition, so it is not the way to do at your home, that sit in the garden so to take the oxygen. But at that point of time you can take the oxygen cylinder. But if you are actually not dependent on the oxygen cylinder and you are feeling right now very well, and you have some issues with the oxygen level, so you can sit in the garden, talk with your plants, not like with a hello like that, but just feel the plants, that how they also feel when you just discriminate them, as we can say that we discriminate the plants. In fact, they cut the plants, yeah. So we should not discriminate also plants now. So sit with your plants, and you will feel actually great and relaxed when you will sit with your plants. Now coming to the point that human environment is very bad now. Or actually now we are going to discuss that what are the three spheres of the earth, and after that we will discuss the MCQ questions of this chapter, and we will finish with the answer questions in this video only. So this video is going to be long. If you are interested, see the whole video, and if you are not interested, kindly do comment if you are not liking my video. And if you like my video, do a like. If you don't like my video, dislike my video, and do subscribe my channel, and hit the bell icon right now for the new coming updates. And as I upload my video if after every 1 day or after every day. So let's get started with the three spheres now. The lithosphere, the land, is made of a solid rock, and for the earth, which actually provides the canvas for the existence of the human beings, plants, and animals. It also provides us the space for buildings, settlements, and soil or agriculture, minerals, and power supplies, and actually for electrical vans and like industry and other purposes. It actually gives a space for these things. Now, what is atmosphere? Atmosphere is the mixture of gases that surround the earth these and actually sustain life by providing different life supporting gases such as carbon dioxide, oxygen. If carbon dioxide would not be there, plants would not be there, as some and like many plants take carbon dioxide inside them and give oxygen out there. So every supporting gas is there in our atmosphere, and it also protects the earth from the harmful radiations of the sun, and also regulates the temperature of the earth, making it habitable to live. Now, what is hydrosphere? Hydrosphere, by the name, we can understand that it is water. Water in the liquid form or in the solid form or in the gaseous form that will considered in the atmosphere. Now, on the earth, there are several types of things where the hydrosphere is like very in including amounts that, for example, in groundwater, rivers, lakes, ponds, and many types of streams and many kinds of oceans, seas are there where the water is present. Excuse me. And also there are, it is called the hydrosphere, and it is essential, extremely essential for our survival of all the forms of the life on the planet, because plants also need water, and humans also need water, animals also need actually water to survive on the earth, and so it is a very very essential component on the earth. Now, as we have done the whole chapter, now we are coming to the let's recall part, which is the tick mark questions or the MCQ questions, we can say. The components of the environment include the natural environment and the human-made environment, social environment, cultural environment. So the correct answer should be human-made environment. The abiotic environment consists of the A part is hydrosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, natural and human-made environment, and C part is hydrosphere and atmosphere. So the correct option should be the first one, which is hydrosphere, lithosphere, and the atmosphere. The question number 3 is the categories of all living organisms in the biosphere are first part is consumers and non-living things, B part is producers and non-living things, and the C part is producers, consumers, and decomposers. So the correct option should be the C part, which is producers, consumers, and decomposers. Let's come to the question number 4, which is many different food chains link up to form a food web. So correct option should be the food web. It was a fill in the blank, we can say. The question number 5 is which of the following is not defined as an ecosystem? A part is desert, B part is forest, and C part is school. So this question is for your comment section. It is very easy. You can just answer it. Let me repeat the question. Which of the following is not defined as an ecosystem? So you can tell that answer in the comment section. Now let us go to the answer in one sentence. So the question number 1 is what is meant by an environment? So the answer should be an environment refers to the surrounding within which an organism exists. Question number 2 is that what are the two components of the environment? The two components of the environment are natural environment and the artificial environment. Let's see the third question. What is biosphere? Biosphere, it is a place where all forms of life are present, such as lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere, and meet and support the life through interaction between the producers, consumers, and decomposers. Let's see the fourth question. Define ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? An ecosystem is a natural unit that consists of non-living and living elements of life. Let's see the question number 5 now. What leads to global warming? So this question is actually for you that, but I am also going to tell my answer. An increase in amount of carbon dioxide in air due to transport and industrial activities is actually has led to global warming. Let's see the answer number 1 now. Of the following answers in the detail. So the question number 1 is enumerate the main differences between the two main components of the environment, which are actually the two components of the environment are the natural environment that comprises living and non-living things that occur naturally on the earth. The point 2 is the artificial or the human-made environment, which consists of interactions between the human and nature. Examples are park, dams, houses, etc. Now let's see the question number 2, which is what do you understand by the global warming? So we are understanding now. The biosphere is referred to as the global ecosystem within which the biosphere its natural habitats such as forest, desert, and a pond with its community of living things is called regional ecosystem. Let's see that what do you think human beings need to work towards the sustainable development? So the answer of mine is it is imperative to ensure that sustainable development takes place in the society. For example, creating a sustainable society, checking population growth, the sensible use of resources, using renewable sources of energy, and recycling of waste. Now, let us go to the question number 4. How are autotrophs different from heterotrophs? So, First point of autotrophs would be autotrophs are the producers like green plants and can prepare their own food using raw materials such as water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. The point two of heterotrophs and consumers is almost all the other living organisms like directly or indirectly depend on food for their food for on plants. These are known as heterotrophs and consumers. Now, what is question number 5? How can we create a sustainable society? Now, we can create a sustainable society by checking the population growth, sensible use of resources, using renewable sources and recycling of waste and sources of energy. And these are the things which we can check for the sustainable society. Then the question number 1. Now coming to the question number 1 of the uh, following answers in a brief. So let's go to the question number 1 now. Describe the three components that make up the abiotic environment. The three components of the environment are lithosphere. Lithosphere, it is the land, the solid surface or the earth of the earth, and which provides existence of plants and animals and humans. Atmosphere, the mixture of gases that surround the earth and sustain life by providing valuable sources such as gases for respiration, saving from harmful radiation of the sun, regulating temperature and making it habitable. Third point is hydrosphere, the water, liquid or solid on the earth, including the groundwater, is extremely essential for the survival of all forms of the life on the earth. Now, coming to the question number 2, how are all living organisms within the biosphere are interdependent? So they are interdependent because of food chains that link up to form food webs. All the food webs are delicately balanced. So if one food web would be destroyed, all the other food organisms will be affected. Now coming to the question number 3, what is global warming and what contributes it? Global warming leads when the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, and the things which contributed are actually transportation, industrial activities, burning plastics, etc. Question number 4 is write a short note on human environment. So, the human environment encompasses human beings and their activities. The environment is the source of all resources required by the human beings in order to prosper and survive. The human beings are the only living organisms on the earth that are transformed in the for the environment to fulfill their own needs. Now, coming to the question number 5, and it is the last question: how have human activities accelerated the process environmental degradation? The human activities like clearing the forest lands, lumbering, and mining became unsustainable, thus accelerating the process of environment and degradation. Now we have done the whole question answers, but I want to just discuss one paragraph of this chapter, which was global warming and sustainable development, which I didn't discuss, but I did the question answers with the same only. An increase in the amount of the carbon dioxide in the air due to transport and various industrial issues had led the global warming that we all know. And the global warming is actually defined as the rising of the Yes. So the global warming is defined as the rising average temperature of the atmosphere of the earth, and as well as it is also present in the oceans. It began in the 19th century and is continuing till date. Some effects of the global warming are rise in the level of sea caused by the melting of glaciers, decreasing snow cover, increase in the occurrence of the certain extreme weather events, ecological and social changes. So we have done that. What are the global warming effects? Now, how do we create a sustainable society? Checking the population growth of the area, using the renewable sources, not using the plastic. Now, sensible to use the resources like the sources of energy and light. Like we have to use it very carefully, and then recycling the waste, reusing the waste, and to follow the 3 R's of the biology. Then we have completed the whole chapter, and we have actually covered the whole session in 35 minutes only. And so now it is the time to say bye bye to each other. So take care and stay home and stay safe, and stay safe from coronavirus. And we can say many types of infections are now coming now also, and there is like high amount of risk on kids. So everyone, I'm also a kid, and you are also, I think, a kid that are or is watching my video. So please stay at home, I request, and also stay home, and please stay with your family in this point of time. That is, and it is very important. So stay home, stay safe. Bye.